Hello, Barbies, Kens, and Theys, and Thems. Welcome to Nicole Reacts, the show in which I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus that I find, that other people help me find, and who find me on the internet. My qualifications for Snark commentary are that I've owned a marketing company for 16 years. In that time, I worked with hundreds of clients on marketing strategy and implementation. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to online marketing. I've been pretty consistent with my uploads here on YouTube for about 2 years, at least every week. And then I got COVID, and I am vaxxed and boosted and everything. I cannot imagine if I wasn't how bad it could have been. But I was out there for a few weeks, but I'm feeling a lot better. I do have this lingering cough that I'm going into the doctor's for. So I'm going to record this and try to edit out all the parts that I cough. So before we start, in case you're wondering, my shirt says, I love gay people and carbs. And one of my clients posted a picture of himself wearing this on his Instagram, and we had to find out where he got it. So I will link in the show notes below here where I got the shirt. This is the men's version of the shirt. I wanted the light blue color, but the women's version is in a slightly different color. And I think probably would have been cut a little better for my shape. I might go get the women's version too. And all the proceeds go to the Trevor Project. I know we generally don't care what I wear around here, but I thought this shirt was really cool. And in case a couple of people think it is too, it goes to a good cause, and it's got colors and a potato on it. So what's there not to like? Today's person's name is Marcus Sheridan, and he seems to be sort of one of those like sales speaker kind of people. I thought we could look at his website and then watch a couple of his videos, but think middle-aged white guy sales training is I think what we're going to get here. But let's get a little more context from the website about who this guy is. Marcus Sheridan, international. I'll be curious where his offices are, but just know that if you wanted to add the word international to your logo to sound important, you could do that just as easily, I'm sure, especially if you've worked in multiple countries. So powerfully engaging, obsessive about takeaways. When Marcus Sheridan gives a keynote, the audience is everything. Learn why hundreds of event professionals trust Marcus with their audience. So it seems like keynote speaker is kind of what he does. There's logos of clients he's worked with. 250 plus workshops around the globe. Okay, hence the international. Sales, marketing, communication. When brands and organizations want to get out of a rut, they call Marcus. Okay, I mean, I don't know why you need to be in a rut to have sales training, but okay. And then, he wrote a book, rated #1 marketing book to read by Mashable, and also listed in top 5 marketing books of all time by the Book Authority. I don't know who the Book Authority is. I do know Mashable is a social media blog. I don't think they're bad. As HubSpot's 2018 Partner of the Year, Marcus's firm Impact has become a true media powerhouse in the inbound sales, marketing, and training space. So back when I was starting my company, it was difficult to figure out like, okay, what are some ways that I can get my knowledge more updated and kind of let clients know that I've done that. And there is a HubSpot inbound marketing certification. It was free back in 2008. I think it's still free now. And obviously, it relies pretty heavily on how HubSpot's tools handle things, but clearly, like how search engines work or how email marketing works, it doesn't matter whether you're using HubSpot software or different software. A lot of those principles sort of apply. Inbound marketing is this term that HubSpot kind of tried to make happen. And I can always tell when someone is tied into HubSpot because they use the term inbound marketing a little bit more than the rest of us who do online marketing or internet marketing or, the general field that I'm in. And it's the idea that you do marketing so that your customers contact you. So rather than you trying to run a TV commercial or something, you're putting something out there that they want and they are opting into your email list to get it, or they're responding to your social media post with a comment. So that's the idea of inbound marketing, is the leads or the customers are coming directly into you. Now, you're still obviously doing work to have that happen, but some of the more traditional modes of advertisement are considered more outbound. It's interesting that he has this sort of Marcus Sheridan international brand that he uses for keynote speeches, but it seems like he also has a firm called Impact. So let me look at that real quick. I was a little worried I'd have a hard time finding this because the word impact is used so often in online marketing companies and tools and software. But I just searched Impact Marcus Sheridan, and he was on the team page of this website. So I think we're in the right spot here. Build a thriving business in any economy. So timely. Impact sales and marketing training programs help businesses implement systems, skills, and habits that lead to long-term sustainable revenue growth. Okay, so it sounds like these are pre-done trainings. Let's take a look at the pricing here real quick to just kind of see what we're getting for our money. Looks like there's a few here, so I'm going to just scroll with this one called They Ask, You Answer Mastery. Dramatically increase trust, explode traffic, leads, and sales. They Ask, You Answer is the most proven sales and marketing framework in the world for achieving online dominance in any space. That's really interesting to me. I wonder who ranks that. So, how much do they cost? For small businesses with less than $2.5 million in revenue, I'm guessing most of the people watching this video probably are in that space, are between $2,000 and $10,000 a month with a $5,000 one-time setup fee. It looks like there is some squishiness in the pricing because they have factors that influence pricing include the size and scale, the number of programs, and the staffing and software. Okay, what's included? We have free initial coaching, immersive training, quarterly planning sessions, and membership into the Impact Plus for Business membership. Okay, it's an online community. All right, and then it says, okay, what else will I need to succeed? So you'll need sales and marketing software. And it says almost all companies that succeed with They Ask, You Answer use HubSpot, Vidyard, and SEMrush. So he's a HubSpot partner. So he's getting a kickback from HubSpot, but he's also selling HubSpot software. Most businesses, the software budget ranges from $500 to $2,000 a month. Okay, so you're already paying $2,000 to $10,000 for the training, and you're paying between $500 and $2,000 a month for the software. Then we have content and video staff. We strongly recommend that businesses hire a full-time content manager to start the engagement, and as they grow, add a full-time videographer. Starting salaries for these positions can vary in your market, but we've seen a lot of companies hire at entry-level rates around $45,000 to $65,000 a year. So not only are you paying your staff to be trained, you are going to be hiring one more staff member and eventually two more full-time staff members. So I think what's interesting is that someone's salary isn't the full cost of hiring that person, right? Because you're going to need time to train them, but also they have other costs associated with hiring someone. You're going to need to get them some equipment to work with. You're going to need to get them a computer and stuff. You're going to need to get them, I don't know, health insurance. There's like other costs associated besides the person's salary when it comes to hiring someone. I won't get too into that, but I just think it's interesting that $45,000 to $65,000 a year is not a fully comprehensive amount of money that it costs to hire somebody, even if that's their salary. And then we have video equipment. For your videographers and video content to be successful, you'll need proper audio equipment, camera, lighting, and a backdrop. Depending on your needs, most businesses invest between $1,800 and $10,000 in video equipment. You're going to pay us $10,000 to train you, but also you're going to be paying another $100,000 when it comes down to the equipment, when it comes down to hiring a staff member, at least one, and when it comes to the marketing and sales software that you're going to need to buy. This is like a minimum of a six-figure investment in addition to the coaching that you're buying with them. I appreciate that they're being realistic, but this is a lot for the average small business owner. Can we just say that? So I'm guessing that the Impact Company or Marcus Sheridan don't make most of their money off of small businesses. A small business paying $10,000 for training and then paying a salary and paying for software and then paying for top of the line video equipment is not something that most small businesses can really do on a regular basis. So I'm guessing that he probably makes the most money off of things like speaking fees. So I just looked up how much he gets for a speaking fee, and it looks like he gets between $20,000 and $30,000 to speak at corporate events and keynote speeches and things like that. So I thought we would watch something that was, worth $20,000 to $30,000. Let's watch a keynote speech at least. We'll see how that goes. Here's Marcus Sheridan's YouTube channel. And in case you think I'm punching down, I did look, and he has 22,000 followers on Twitter, and he has worked with really big companies like Microsoft. So I think he has at least a bit of a platform. So I feel comfortable talking about him. And we go to videos and we see the couple of videos that we're going to watch here. I don't think I want to watch the keynote speaker reel because I have a feeling that's just little sections of keynotes, but we're going to watch the sales versus marketing one. But I thought it was interesting. I just when I first get to a YouTube channel, I like to kind of see where they've been. So I hit on oldest for Marcus Sheridan, and it's a ton of content about swimming pools. Can fiberglass pools come in large sizes and be elegant as well? Can fiberglass pools have natural water features? Can a swimming pool cover hold my crazy children? I'm kind of curious how long the swimming pool content happens. So I scrolled a little bit, and it looks like 12 years ago, video, how much backfill is needed for a fiberglass pool. And then there was a break. And then 7 years ago, he uploads The Balance, episode 3, Family, Fishing, and Forever. The Balance, episode 2, The Online Story is Not Always Reality. The Balance, episode 1, Achieving World-Class Communication. So it looks like he made the pivot around 7 years ago from swimming pool expert to business and sales content. I'm not saying you can't pivot. I'm just saying I think this is interesting. So now we're going to watch this video. It looks like a keynote address. I'm just assuming it is because he's on stage and talking. And it's called Sales versus Marketing in 2023. Here's what businesses must understand. So let's take a watch.
Now, we got to start our conversation with the number that continues to grow and grow and grow. And in fact, this number was 70% when I wrote the first edition of They Ask You Answer. Today it's 80%, and that is, this is how far along the buyer is by the time they reach out to you and contact you. So the moment that they fill out that form on your website, the moment that they call you or contact you, wherever that means is, on average, business to business and business to consumer, they are 80% through that buying funnel, as we hear. So let's go back in time for a minute, shall we? Let's say it's 25 years ago. What year is that? Took you a minute there. Took you a minute. All right. 1996. Oh, that's fun. Okay, 1996. That was the year, just so you know, email started to become mainstream. And what's funny is many salespeople at the time pushed back on.
I resisted getting an email address in high school until I think 1997. I was really not into the technology thing. I got dragged into all this kicking and screaming, if you could
On
believe
email,
it.
electronic mail. I ain't gonna do no electronic mail. Now, They probably didn't say it like that here in the UK, but it was something like that, right? And of course, how did it go for those salespeople? Not so well. Either they got on board or they were left behind. That's how it works always with change. So what do you think this number was 25 years ago? When the internet's just getting started, how far along through that buyer's journey do you think our average customer was 25 years ago? What do you think? Anybody have a guess?
I'm guessing less than 10% because there wasn't a lot online at that time. I know that's hard to believe, but like when I was applying to colleges, by the way, I graduated high school in 1999. So I'm applying to colleges in 1998, around there. I was getting in course catalogs. I was getting in physical marketing materials from the colleges I wanted to go to. And that's how I was evaluating them. So if a college who could charge thousands of dollars a year for admissions didn't have a lot online, I can't imagine that the average small business did. So I'm guessing less than 10%. That's my guess.
Yeah, 10%, 20-some%. And if I had to make a guess, because they hadn't done this study at the time, right? If I had to make a guess, 20% is where we were.
I like how he was like, well, there's no way to know, so I'm going to guess 20%. Okay, well, then that number doesn't mean anything.
Today, we're at 80%. So the question is, for you, me, everyone in this room, regardless of the size of your business, where is this number going to be? Where is it going to go over the next 5, 10, 15 years? That's right. It's going to go higher. And is it ever going to go back? Now, we might not like it, but it's called reality. And if we want to be successful as business owners, we have to accept the trends for what they are. We can't say, no, that's the marketplace. I'm going to do what I've always done. It doesn't work that way.
Sorry for the abrupt cut there. I just had a coughing fit. But the thing I was just thinking about is that in the last few years, I've been like, oh, I must be getting better at sales because we have, proposal software and I'm able to kind of see when I've closed and all that. And I see I'm getting better at it. But what I think is that by the time someone reaches out to us, they're just further along in the process. And so they're actually like considering us in a real way versus maybe they were 10 years ago. And so maybe it's not that I'm better at sales. It's just that the people who are contacting and that we're closing deals with are people who are just further along in the buying process with us by the time they contact me. I just had that interesting thought while I was hacking my guts out. But
now, if this number's true, we got to swallow pills. Critical that we swallow the pills early on. So for example, I want you to assume that you have these two departments in your business. Even if you don't, in your mind, have these two departments, everybody does. You might be the head of each one of these departments. But if this number is true, which department of your organization has a greater impact on the actual sale of the thing? Is it the sales department or the marketing department? Which one?
You're going to say marketing department.
Yet notwithstanding, by the way, raise your hand if you're in marketing. Okay, here we go. Notwithstanding, when a company is in financial trouble, the first department that gets cut or laid off is who?
Marketing.
That's how we pay you back for your goodness. Thank you for making so much impact on the sale. We're going to let you go now. And generally speaking, when a company's looking to grow the business, the first department that gets hired is sales. The question is, why is it that way? Because we've been doing it that way how long? Forever. Eons, you guys are great. Isn't it better when everybody's talking? You feel the energy, don't you? It's so great. And by the way, isn't it
I know this feels like a room where everybody's talking, but okay.
great that we're all freaking together in a room? Can't we give it up for that? Like applause or something? Yeah, it's great. Woo!
I like how they have shots showing how big the crowd is. So he's in the UK, we know, but we don't know what group he's talking to.
I don't know about you, but them Zoom calls getting a little old. Getting a little old.
And taking my speaking career lightly.
So, marketing has a bigger influence.
Okay.
Yet, if we look at financial spreadsheets today, generally speaking, still, sales is classified as revenue, marketing is classified as
And expense.
expense. Now, is that the way it should be in 2021 and beyond? Listen, gang,
I've said this in previous videos and I'll say it again. Like, I don't understand why sales and marketing are considered separate departments of the company. I feel like you could need both. The salespeople are probably having really valuable conversations with potential customers that would inform the marketing people about like what kind of content they should be putting out or what kind of ads they should be running or whatever. And the marketing people probably have some ideas for the salespeople about what's working in the marketing that could help them close the sale. I don't know. I just don't know why those two departments wouldn't work together, but
if your organization, if you as that CFO within your company or someone in your company that's handling the books still believes that sales is straight revenue and marketing is straight expense, we have a problem. And here's where I see other problems too. Raise your hand if you've got a sales team in this room or salespeople that work for you. Raise your hand. Okay, my friend, how many salespeople work for you? 2 people. Okay, now, if I went to those 2 salespeople that you have and I said, what percentage of the sale do you dictate? What do you think their number would be? And we know it would be different for each person, but if you had to make a guess, what do you think their number would be?
if they're being compensated straight on commission, they're going to attribute sales mostly to themselves, right? If my compensation and a lot of salespeople's compensation, at least part of it comes down to the commission, like how much they've sold. I think most of them are going to say like, oh, 80 to 90. They're going to say a high number because their revenue is tied into that. And I don't get why they wouldn't say a high number for that reason.
Okay, it's great. He said 100%, 100%. In other words, his salespeople would say, yeah, I pretty much handle the whole deal. This is my baby, right? Now that is nice on the surface, but it's problematic within the company. The reason is because still to this day, we have too many salespeople. And by the way, I am all sales. At my core, that's what I am. But we've got to recognize that we must evolve. How do we evolve? If the salesperson still thinks they're dictating 100% like my friend in the front row versus essentially what is on average 20% of the sales process that they're dictating, we have a problem.
Where's he getting 20%? He's the one who made up 20% at the beginning. That wasn't that 80% study that is on the screen. But the other thing too is that, and I brought this up in other videos, so sorry if you watch my videos, but sales and marketing are compensated differently. Typically marketing is a salaried position, and typically sales, there might be a base salary plus commission, or it's 100% commission, or so it's hard to like treat these people as equal when they're compensated very differently. I think that's the other reason that there can be a little bit of a rub between sales and marketing.
Because they're never going to go to marketing and say, yeah, I want to be a part of what you're doing. I need to be a part of the front end of the sales experience, because they do. If your team doesn't understand this trend, go back and teach it to them. Everybody must rally around this, because it's only going to grow. And it means 2 fundamental things. Again, sales has to become involved in the marketing side of the business, in that 80%. Marketing needs to be accountable for revenue as well. No more just simple campaigns. No more fluffy stuff. That's the evolution of sales and marketing. This is why so many companies now just call it a simple revenue team, where it's sales and marketing under that umbrella. It's not an us versus them. There's no more silos there when you start thinking that way. This is fundamental to our conversation.
That was fine. I would say that was a portion of a talk, and what keynotes are clearly about an hour long. So maybe that was 5% of the talk. What's 5% of $20,000? Hold on. If he was paid $20,000, this was $1,000 worth of material right here we just watched. It's an interesting conversation, but is it worth $1,000 to me? I will say like some marketing initiatives are difficult to put a value on. So for example, let's say that you ran a TV spot in a regional campaign, and on that TV spot was a link to a form that somebody would fill out. So let's say that the TV station says 100,000 people typically, is the audience that would see this ad based on the time slot and our viewership and all that. And let's say only 25 people filled out that form. Now, it would be really tempting to say, oh, that campaign didn't work. But if we zoom out and say, are we tracking how many visitors came into those locations during the 2 weeks after the ad ran? Are we tracking how many phone calls came in? Is there other things that we're not necessarily tracking that were benefits to running that ad, even though, like I said, we wanted people ideally to go to this page and fill out this form, even though they didn't do that? Did they do something else that was worthwhile? And a lot of times people aren't measuring things like that, or as like the marketing person, I don't have access to those kind of numbers to be able to prove that the marketing thing I did a good job. Another thing I always tell my clients is that if you do social media marketing, even if you have a relatively small following, a lot of times that will increase how well you're doing in search engines. So if you look at your website, you're like, oh, wow, like 70% of my traffic is coming from search engines. The social media I'm doing isn't working. The reality is that maybe people saw your brand a few times and then they were like, oh, I need mascara. And then they Google the name of the mascara company that they've been following on Instagram for the last 6 months. And then they buy from that search. So even though the Instagram posts they saw were critical in them buying the mascara, the sale actually gets attributed to the Google search. I guess what I'm saying is it can be a little bit more complicated than he's letting on, but also he only has an hour to give a keynote to a room full of people. So there's that. I want to watch some stuff that he's filmed himself because remember, on the website of his company, he suggests investing between $1,800 and $10,000 on your video technology, and he suggests you eventually hire a full-time videographer. So I'm assuming the stuff that he's filmed himself should be pretty high quality if he's suggesting those kind of expenses and having a specific team member that does that. To let you guys know what I've got in my setup, I have $550 in lights. I have a $200 microphone. I have a $150 webcam. I have a $75 screen, and that plant behind me is from IKEA, and I think was $60, and it's fake because there's no windows in this room. So that's what I've got in my setup. So I will tabulate that on the screen, but it is definitely on the low end of 1,800. And again, I'm a marketing company, so I like bring this stuff to my clients' places when we're filming stuff with them. It's not something that I would expect the average small business owner to just have. So let's watch some of his shorts and see what we can learn and also what we can notice about his video setup.
Now, when you're on a website and you're looking for cost and price information and you cannot find it, what is the emotion you experience? Frustration. You're going to say that. That, my friends, is the F word of the internet. Now, what gives you the right to feel so frustrated in that moment? Christian, what gives you the right to get so mad and frustrated? You're the what, Christian? It's not what I'm looking for, because you're the buyer, you're the customer, and you're trying to give them your money, right, Christian? And they're making it really hard.
Okay, I saw the green screen in the preview and I thought this was him filming himself, but maybe not.
When do you think you chose success? Like, when was there a specific incident in life, or was there a gradual thing?
I think I fell in love with success and we'll call it personal development when I picked up in college a book at a garage sale for 75 cents, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I read that book and immediately fell in love with this idea that I could improve myself. I could make myself better. And so I read How to Win Friends and Influence People 3 or 4 times, just many, many other books since then. And then shortly thereafter that, I discovered Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn became the great mentor of my life, even to this day. And I listen to Jim Rohn every single day almost, probably every single day of my life. For the most part, over the last 25 years, I've listened to something from Jim Rohn.
I remember someone recommending me How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I remember just thinking, I think I got through the first couple of chapters and I was like, this feels really manipulative. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't feel right. And Jim Rohn also is like a red flag guru to me. So the fact that that book and that guy are who he's looking up to, it annoys me. And I think the other thing that annoys me about trainings by middle-aged white guys who do sales is that some of their tactics are not going to work for me. And I know that, but there's no acknowledgement of that in the training. And maybe you're thinking, Nicole, you bring up gender an awful lot on this channel. And listen, I'm a woman who runs a tech company. I have people who don't listen to me or don't take me seriously. The amount of time that I have to spend showing my credibility or like showing people I know what I'm talking about or like establishing rapport or being polite compared to my male colleagues, it honestly sometimes gets to be pretty infuriating. I'll tell you one story. So my friend Dave, he runs a tech company. He mainly does like hardware stuff, so like setting up your computer, your security cameras, that kind of thing. And we work with a lot of similar clients because we're, in the same area. And we had a shared client and they kept uploading these giant files to their website. The website kept not being able to back up. So I'd get these emails and be like, hey, our website isn't backing up again. And so I would explain over and over again what the problem was, which is that their files were too big and that maybe we should use some kind of content delivery network to store those files. So I emailed Dave and I said, listen, these people aren't listening to me. I've been trying to sell them this thing for a year. I don't care if you build it for them or if I build it for them. I just want to stop getting these emails about there being problems with the website because it's very preventable. So he sends an email to them being like, hey, I think you should have a content delivery network. Copies me. He says, Nicole can do it or I can do it. But I think, I know Nicole's been working on your website. She can totally do it. Within the fucking day, I had an email back. The client being like, hey, Nicole, let's talk about this. I had brought it up 4 other times over email, but suddenly a dude with the penis brings it up and suddenly we're ready to have the conversation. That is one of literally probably hundreds of stories I could tell you. And at a certain point, it just really wears on you. So if you're taking a sales training and you do not fit the demographic of the trainer and you're like, I'm not sure if that would work for me, listen to that gut instinct. Okay. All right. Rant over. Let's go back to watching some shorts. Maybe they'll be fun and kicky.
To me, the highest compliment is when someone says something like, I didn't understand that thing until I heard you explain it. That makes me feel good. One of the best lessons that I ever received as a marketer and just as a business person and communicator years ago was somebody told me, it's dumb not to dumb it down. And at first, I didn't really understand what that meant, but I started to think about it, and it's just so true. I think there's a lot of people in the digital world that try to impress, and they try to sound smart.
I love all the emojis with the captions in the digital world, and then the little icon of the laptop pops up. And the other thing, remember, this guy wants you to have $1,800 to $10,000 worth of video equipment. Does he look like he's using a professional video setup? So notice the emojis on the captions. And also, as you watch these videos, remember that this guy wants you to have a professional video setup. And I don't think he has one.
You don't even realize it sometimes. All you do is you end up distancing yourself from your audience. Whereas if you're just looking for communion with the audience, you're trying to say in a way that light bulbs come on, now all of a sudden you have those magical moments.
This is why the principles of engendering trust do not change regardless of industry. So whether you're big, small, local, national, mom, pop, corporation, doesn't matter. B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. Service product, this applies to you. And the greatest, the ones that I've met around the world, they get that vision and they're running with it. With that being said, many companies don't understand what it takes to become that voice of trust. Are you addressing the things that 95% of your competitors are not? That is the audit. If you just do this, you'll be seen as one of the most innovative in your space, but you gotta be honest.
For years when I was selling HubSpot, I'd isolate the one problem that they had to solve, and I literally would never show 99% of what HubSpot could do. The 1% is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, they want you to solve their one problem. If I go to the doctor and I'm like, hey, I'm bleeding on my finger, and they're like, oh, we could treat your foot and we could fix your back and I'd be like, no, I'm like bleeding right now. So yeah, people just want their main thing addressed. Also, he says when he used to sell HubSpot, he still sells HubSpot now under his impact thing where he does the training and he sets up your sales software. He recommends HubSpot, remember? So he is technically still selling HubSpot, even if not
You
directly.
see, most people don't understand how to sell that way. When you become a coaching company, that's how you learn how to sell, because you learn how to ask world-class questions that lead quickly to the core of the problem or the need, and they can self-discover on their own that that's the move they need to make. For years when I was selling,
Yeah, a big part of working with businesses is asking them questions. I know that whenever I meet with people, I've looked at all their stuff and I have some questions I want to ask them about it. And I can always tell that they're like surprised that I did that, but How can we have a productive conversation if I don't learn more besides what's out there for everybody to see? There's other stuff going on behind the scenes, right? So if I look and I'm like, oh, I see your YouTube hasn't been updated in like 3 years, but it's linked on your website. Is that something you're still doing? And then you find out our marketing person left with the password and none of us can get in, but we don't want to delete anything because we have useful video. So you get all that context, right? Just by asking the right question. We're going to watch a couple more and then we'll end the broadcast here.
I've been working for 23 or so years. You know what I've never found? Balance. Balance. People talk about balance. You got to find balance. Balance in your career, balance in your life. Like, what does that even mean? Funny is, I ask you, how do you define balance? And you're going to say something. If you ask me how I define it, I'm going to say something. For example, I love taking my wife and kids on trips with me that are work trips. And some people say, well, I don't think you should mix the two. I say, I love mixing the two. That works for me. It might not work for you. Here's a tip. You're never going to find balance. So instead of trying to find balance, try to find your best life, whatever works for you. And don't allow someone else in the world to define it, because trust me, it's not going to work. What's going to work is what works for. I've been working for 23 or so years.
I'm wondering if this is the fancy camera work of a full-time videographer that he's talking about.
5 trends every digital marketer should be thinking about. Number 1, insourcing your marketing. The greatest case studies that we continue to see over and over again, B2B, B2C, are companies that are great at insourcing. Number
Insourcing being looking at resources within your company. He sells training. So obviously that would take advantage of resources within your company. Just saying that it is true that a lot of companies' greatest assets are sitting in the company already, but also he's saying this because he has a product to sell you related to this.
Chat GPT. It's only getting better, which means if you take advantage of this ability to scale your content by producing the right type of content, think they ask you answer, y'all, come on, right? And add the human voice, add the story.
These edits are so interesting. So in case you're not watching, they have him with a wood background. I'm guessing it's a backdrop. Like I'm guessing that it's a green screen and this is added in, but maybe it's a wall somewhere. But they keep like zooming into him and then zooming out. And then they have little effects. Like when he talked about going on trips with his family, there was like a plane that like went across the screen. I don't know. I feel like it's like trying really hard. Tell me if you think that's...
You're going to be rocking and you're going to be rolling. Number 3, video. Things like, okay, I'm going to have a videographer in-house. Yes.
I'm going to have a videographer in-house. Again, this is something that he pushes within his company. If you had a videographer in-house, of course, your videos would be better and more consistent. But like, can you afford that?
Because that's who we are. We're visual storytellers. And number 4, we need to be thinking about short form video. You can repurpose those long videos and you can make them short. Number 5, making sure your organization has a literal team where sales and marketing are aligned. It's revenue teams. 5 trends every digital marketer.
All right, one more.
So it's 2023, and literally just the other day, someone asked me, so Marcus, do you think my company should be blogging? My response to should we be blogging is, okay, do you think you should be answering your customers' questions? Do you think that your potential customers might have questions, worries, fears, issues, concerns before they ever reach out? And oh, by the way, right now, where are they getting those answers? Is trust fundamental to your business? So don't ask the question, should we be blogging? That's missing the point. What we should be doing is educating, helping, earning their trust. And through that, we're going to find that many want to do business with us because we're willing to give them that which so many other companies are not.
It's funny because the other day I got an email from somebody and they were asking about social media help, but also blogging. And it's been a while since someone has asked me directly about blogging. This client has a hotel and she's kind of in an interesting area where there's like not a ton of tourist information. And so when I wrote back, and I haven't heard back from her yet, but I asked her, I said, I'm just curious because I love blogging and I think we could have a good blog for your website and it would get you traffic and all that. But I'm curious whether like you see the blog as a tool to get more traffic from search engines, or you see it as there really isn't a lot of information about our area online and we could be the provider of that information. And in being the provider of that information, people would come stay with us, kind of thing. So I was just curious kind of what her approach to blogging was, because it does have both of those benefits. But I was curious kind of like the reason she wanted to get into it. I think there's still a place for blogging. I don't think every business needs to blog. I don't think a blog is necessarily the only way to answer these questions. I see a lot of small business TikTok answering people's questions like, why does a mug cost $28 from your pottery studio? And then they go into, this is how much it is in materials, and this is the steps in it, and this is how long it takes. And then people really see the value of it. And they're like, oh, I totally get why it's $28 now. Or people will say, oh, like, it doesn't seem like this color would work for people who are blonde. Like, I'm blonde. I don't think this would work. So then they're like, hey, like, here are two of my friends who are blonde. Let's have them try it. Oh, it works great on them, you know? So people are asking you questions maybe in the comments section of your social media, and you could answer it also through short videos or through images or some other way on social media as well. It doesn't have to be as a blog on your website. I think it is important to address people's objections like head on and answer their questions, because otherwise they're just going to keep having them and it looks like you don't want to answer them. Personally, I love blogging. It's how I got started with internet marketing. Is I had a blog. It was a personal finance blog. That's why this company is called Breaking Even, because the personal finance blog was breaking even and I kind of wanted to keep it because I felt a little nostalgic about it. I think blogging is great. I don't think you have to do it, but I think him saying like, hey, you should address people's concerns and questions, and people should be able to get to know you and they should be able to trust you and your company before they buy something from you. I think there's ways to build that trust, and I think a blog is one of them, but I don't think it's the only way. So do I think Marcus Sheridan knows what he's talking about? I think he does, but he's going to make you spend an awful lot of money if you're going to work with him on his programs. Also, it seems like he has these set programs for you to be in, whereas your local marketing agency doesn't have to be us, but like your local regional marketing agency probably is used to working on clients one-on-one, and they might have specific recommendations for you based on what you want versus putting you through a pre-done training program. And it'll probably also end up being a lot less expensive, in addition to being, I think, more effective for you. I don't think you need to spend $10,000 on training. I don't think you need to hire a full-time videographer if you don't have that kind of money. I don't think you have to buy $10,000 worth of video equipment. I just don't. I think there is something between like nothing and the best there is. And I think what we need to be doing as small business owners or as creators is see if we could keep making it better. And that's all our customers want us to do. And that's all we can ask of ourselves as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this sort of thing, I upload videos weekly, unless I have COVID, on this channel, typically on Fridays. You can go to breakingeveninc.com/blog and see all the videos on the blog. Or if you're on YouTube, you can click on the Nicole Reacts playlist and see all of the videos there. There's literally over 100 at this point. If you have a guru you want me to react to, a specific video, a topic, you can leave it as a comment on this video and I will see it. Or if you're more shy, you can use the contact form of our website. That emails directly to me. If you want to lightly keep in touch, our email newsletter is a great place to do it, breakingeveninc.com/newsletter. You can go to that page and see examples of our newsletter before signing up, so you can see what you're getting into. And if you want, share this with a friend, someone to get a kick out of it. This is a small business channel, but it's also, commentary and reaction style content. There's also tutorials. So sometimes YouTube doesn't quite know how to push this video or this channel out specifically to people. So like I said, if you know somebody who get a kick out of it, I hope you share it. So thanks again for spending some time with me. And remember, these marketing gurus, they'll just keep on coming. But the good news is you have a friend, and that's me in the marketing business, who's not afraid to call them on all their bullshit. Take care.